What's up, everybody? What's going on? This is Ian. We are on the next episode of Diary of an Ex-Marvelhead, and we've got a very special guest today. You guys all know him. You all love him. That is Billy Visosa. What's up? Let's bring you in, bro. What up?
What's up, Ian? How are you, man?
What's up, dude? You're live.
Nothing, man. I appreciate you having me. It's a cool thing you're doing here. Yeah, a little starstruck. You botched my last name, but it happens.
No, it's Visosa.
Visosi.
I'm totally messing with you, bro. I'm totally messing with you.
Oh. It's all good, man.
Yeah, Visosi. Hey, so anyway, thanks for coming on, dude. I appreciate it. It's kind of like one of those last minute things. I knew I was gonna have you on at some point anyway, but it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm busy, everybody's busy. You're soft, what, getting donuts for your new show? Your new reviews? What?
No. Yeah. No, it's funny, but no, I appreciate it. No, it's no problem. Of course, we go way back, and I'll do anything for you.
Yep. And I think that's maybe we should start, because I sit here and we mess with each other nonstop. We've been doing that for years, so it's like, hey, we're just gonna chat it up like we normally do, and we'll get the humor. I don't know if everybody else will.
Sure, yeah. Bro.
Okay, so let's start off though. Let's introduce you, dude. Crazy thing is you've been doing YouTube longer than I have. You've got more shows, got probably a bigger following on YouTube. It's just it's been a while since you've been on here, right?
Yeah, it has. So yeah, my name's Bill Vizosi. My hobby name is Watch Me Open. I also have been on YouTube as Marvel on the Brain. I developed and produced and hosted the only Marvel trivia game show on YouTube. I developed and hosted a short-lived interview series called Behind the Pencil. I was a breaker on Whatnot, and pretty successful one. Not currently. In my first year on Whatnot, I did over $100,000 in sales, and I've been a collector, non-consecutively since 1991.
Yeah, awesome. A lot of that shit, dude. So we go back way back. Let's talk about Marvel on the Brain a little bit, because they should go back and watch some of those.
Yeah.
So I like that show. I was on one, completely bombed. I suck.
Yeah. So Marvel on the Brain started because I saw a hole in YouTube in the content. I love trivia. I found myself where people were, little. I guess you could say they were impressed with the random things that I know. I don't. It's not a cool thing. It's not something you can put on your resume. I'm taking the credit for it, but I tried to do something useful with it. And we ran 4 seasons of this trivia game show. The first 3 seasons had a different format than the 4th. And the 4th season, which was more like a Jeopardy style format, I actually had some help. I had a lot of help. Barry, roll with him. If you're out there, if anybody knows him, he was kind of like my executive producer. He did a lot of behind the scenes clicking and stuff. So I just got to dress up in a bow tie and stand in front of the camera and ask questions. Like I said, love trivia, love Marvel, love the history of the lore. I always have. I always used to joke, like as far back as in high school, I would say that I know more biographical information about fictional characters than I do about real people.
Yeah, and it was a tough, dude. You came up with some really tough questions. I didn't know jack shit, dude.
There's there's 75 years plus of history out there, and different stories and different writers writing things different ways. I thought it was a cool way to one, see what people knew, and then to expose people maybe to fun things and stories and characters that they maybe didn't know about.
Yeah, it was good. It was good information. I learned a lot actually just by watching them. Now I think there's going to be some people that are kind of disappointed in the bow tie, bro.
Yeah, that's a Marvel on the Brain exclusive. In classic host fashion. I'm just a guest here, so I'm just rocking regular t-shirt. And yeah.
Tell us about the bow tie. Tell us, like, because there's a lot to it. It wasn't just you wore a bow tie.
Oh, well, so that kind of goes back to me being a Doctor Who fan. If there's any Doctor Who fans out there, there's been different actors that played the Doctor over the years. My favorite one is Matt Smith. He was the 11th Doctor, and in this first episode, he made a comment that bow ties are cool, and it just kind of stuck. And so that was always kind of my joke. Bow ties are cool, and I don't know how to tie a bow tie, but I owned a couple for various formal occasions that I had to go to. I wore one a couple times, and people kind of passive aggressively, tongue in cheek, said never wear that bow tie again. And it just kind of became like a meme, to the point where coming up to the fourth season, Marvel on the Brain, I put an advertisement out there and I made an Amazon wish list, and I encouraged people to buy bow ties for me, sort of a participation thing, keep the gag going, and it worked out. Well, a couple people actually did buy bow ties for me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to get at. You actually did a little bit more than just wear a bow tie. People were buying them for you. It was the thing.
Yeah. And then somebody joked that I should, sell them off as, game use memorabilia.
That's funny shit, dude. All right. Yeah, Whatnot. I like to get into Whatnot. So,
Sure.
dude, I'm calling it quits on Whatnot as far as breaks. I'm not doing breaks. I tried breaking some Invincible stuff. It's the same fucking thing that happened with Marvel's happening with Invincible. Same deal, right? There's money there, so the companies that print the cards, they go in, they take over. Then now they have either a company directly for them sell on there. Same thing with Invincible, keepsakes now on there. So I'm officially out of that too. When you stopped, it's been a long time since you've been on Whatnot, right?
It has, yeah. I've made a couple appearances here and there on other people's streams. I tried doing some work for a shop just to get back in the game, because I love being in there on Whatnot in the stream with the collectors, with the chat. Obviously, I love ripping Impact Junkie for life, and when you're able to put those two things together, it's something that I really enjoy. Like I said, especially the chat engagement. One thing I always tried to do when I started Whatnot is I knew right away that not everybody's going to win, especially with breaking. And so I tried to make it as fun for everybody in the chat as possible, that whether you were involved in the break or not, or in the break and didn't hit, that you still had a good time. We still got excited. We told jokes. We made a big deal out of the whole thing. And it helped kind of distract you from the misery of losing, which happens more often than not in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you're kind of signaling there, talking about Invincible, show us what you got on your arm there, dude.
Oh, so yeah, I started a little dog pack. This is a Seance dog from the show Invincible. This is Lockjaw from Marvel Comics, and I'm going to work on getting a couple more dogs going up there.
Perfect, bro. Invincible, Marvel. What else are you going to do, Lockjaw?
Lockjaw's done, and I'm going to do Cosmo next. Dogs and comic books are just two things that I know that I'll never be over. So it made perfect sense for to have them tattooed on my body.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that you did on Whatnot, and a lot of people don't know, especially with Marvel, you did the first. I actually talked about this. You did the first, technically the character break.
Yeah, that was cool. We all, and then I say we, because I don't like to think of myself as just one. Like, we all collaborate and share ideas and help each other.
Yeah.
But I came up with a team break for Marvel too, which was cool. Where I developed a system, pretty simple. It was a coding based on the month and year of the character's first appearance, and so each character was assigned that code, and anybody that shared a code, it was like the month and the last two, the decade, month and decade, I think, or maybe just decade. No, I don't know. Month and last digit of the year. It was something where we were able to group the characters in a way that was kind of unique. Because you couldn't just do teams like Avengers, because so many people have been on the Avengers. You couldn't just do X-Men because there's been such a, maybe there's not enough X-Men. So I wanted to come up with a way that it could split the checklist, the roster, in a fair way, a fun way, that you wouldn't have to buy one spot. You wouldn't have to worry about, let's say dead spots with low characters, and you'd have to hold out for a character collector that was chasing, like Boomerang or something. We were able to group them together. and we just, ran spots as teams. And it was fun. It worked out well. And I did it with a great set for it, Marvel Beginnings, which has a massive checklist, and that was very friendly to the cause, where everybody, had a good dog in the fight, no matter what team you had. There were some that were better than others, but that's the name of the game. You got to make it fun. You got to make something that someone's looking for, trying to go after. And that's another one of the challenges and whatnot, man, is trying to be different, trying to separate yourself. What can I do that you watch my show and you won't change the channel? It's very challenging, and as the space grew, it got more and more competitive. And this was always supplemental income for me. This was my vain attempt to try to feed the hobby with the hobby kind of thing. So as that grew, my patience for having to come up with these ideas really ran thin, and I slowly drifted away. I dealt with some personal problems too, but being a little reckless with my money and my body, that kind of contributed to that. But I seriously, I owe a big part to my whatnot departure to the grind that just got too. It wasn't as fun anymore. It was too much work for me to come on. Like I said, it all started with me doing this thing that I love, ripping packs and engaging with people and talking about it. And
that's the fun part of it. Feeling
the energy of the room, and the money was nice. Like I said, that like the $100,000 in sales, that that's not profit. As well as anybody else at the level we're at to buy sealed product. It's very hard to stay competitive. It's very hard to stay competitive and run a break. You have to buy at a certain price point, and if you want to sell at a certain price point, it sounds like it makes sense, but it involves like scouring eBay all day, scouring Facebook groups every day for people that are going to give you the best deal on a box or a case, and then how am I sure enough that I'm going to be able to get a return on this, and not so that I could profit and get rich, but just so that I could keep doing this. Maybe one day UNICEF will run a whatnot stream, but until then, we have to make a little bit of money in order to motivate us to keep going. And we definitely can't operate at a loss. Otherwise, we're going to start dipping into our big boy money, and into providing the product.
And it's consistency too, and constantly putting that money into it. So you're right, dude. I mean, if you go on there right now, all of us breakers that were old school, none of us do that anymore. I mean, I know there's some people that are on there that have been there for a while that they'll do it for fun, and that's mainly what it is. It's become a hobby. It's not an income.
Yeah. No, and building a loyal following is huge. There's a lot of people at I guess you call them a lower altitude that they don't always run the highest end product, but they have loyal followings. And they're still able to operate successfully on whatnot, and they don't have to come up with gimmicks or anything, and just keep doing the same old thing and over. And hey, my hat's off to them. My heart goes out to them. I'm probably a little bit jealous of them too, but obviously we see that the biggest, the people that fill their rooms the biggest on whatnot are the ones with the highest end product, the most of it, and they have the capital to buy at a certain price. And that they can afford here and there.
Affiliation.
Affiliation.
That's it, man. That's all I see.
That's a real thing, but and then that you have to have the personality, obviously.
Yeah.
The most successful people, they have the personality to do this thing, get on camera and talk to people and have a good time and engage in chat. They have to have the product too. But so I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody's contribution. If people are successful, like they deserve it probably. You don't just hand success out. You might hand out relationships, you might hand out discounted product, but in order to get out there and do the job, you still have to bring something to the table. So
absolutely.
I commend anybody who's been able to stay at it.
And that's one thing. I mean, I might sound like I'm a hater, because I do. It's annoying, honestly, but whatever. These people, I understand. I mean, we live in a capitalistic society. These people have card shops. They shook the hands of the people they needed to shake the hands with to be able to get where they're at, so they can get on there and actually provide the product and do the breaks. And they grind too. I mean, these people, they grind nonstop, and it's hard work. And not knowing behind the scenes, like, just as well as I do, the work of taking a break and separating it out and sleeving it and all that fun stuff is it's a lot of work. And you have to work
absolutely. Yeah. And there's people that have shops and have access to product and have the means to acquire it, and they don't have the stamina or the wherewithal or the drive to go out there and stream and break like that. So it's not just the opportunity. You have to have the drive, and you have to have the goods, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all I had was the goods. I did not have the opportunity or the drive. I ran through what little I could find, and then when I was left, all I was left with was the goods, and that's not good enough. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
What's the craziest thing you tried to sell on Whatnot?
You already know the answer to that.
I do.
Yeah, I was, it was getting a little wild one night. I think alcohol might have been involved, and I auctioned off a bloody napkin. It was my blood, at least.
Yeah. Who won it? Do you know?
I don't remember. It was probably either
Somebody
Joey or
actually won it
Brian.
though.
I think
Someone
so,
actually won
yeah.
it though, and you shipped it out. Did you ship it out?
Yeah. No, I'm going to be framed for a crime someday.
And then what else did you? I mean, you started doing some baking on there.
I did do baking. That was kind of a troll. So
Yeah, I mean, it was Chef Sosi doing his thing.
Look, I have a little bit of troll in me. I'm a little bit ashamed of it. But I was having a private conversation with some friends, and we were talking about the state of who was running right now and whatnot, and how people were able to fill rooms. And I just made the joke that I bet I could fill a room in the Marvel category and not show a single card. It was kind of, it was definitely ego driven, and we had like 25 people in the room and in a Marvel card stream, and I didn't show a single card. And I baked a loaf of banana bread. People actually were disappointed that they didn't get a chance to buy the banana bread. So I came back the next week and I baked something else that they did have the chance to buy. I did it for a couple of weeks. I do love baking. I think I'm pretty good at it. Baking's not really that hard. Baking is probably the easiest thing to do in the kitchen because it's just following directions. But I do love it. And I had the opportunity to share it with people, and it was just a fun little short-lived thing that I did. But like I said, it did start out as a troll to everybody that was out there, getting people in their rooms. And I thought, how cool would it be if I could steal their audience without actually doing the thing that they're trying to do.
So baking goods on Whatnot to reviewing donuts. What's up with the donut review?
I love donuts. I've loved donuts for a long time. It really came to a peak about 4 or 5 years ago. My cousin and I went to Ohio and did this donut trail. It's this county, the county that Cincinnati's in, Butler County, Ohio. It's called the Donut Trail. It's a legit official thing. You go to the county visitor center and you get a passport, and there's a list of 13 donut shops on it. And you go to each donut shop, you get a stamp. And when you come back with a completed passport to the county visitor center, they give you a T-shirt that says you're a certified donut expert. It's very cool. Check out the Butler County Donut Trail. Shameless plug. I mean, not shameless, but friendly plug for the Butler County Donut Trail. A lot of love. Their donuts are on another level, probably because they got nothing else to do out there. It was pretty rough in outside of the city, as far as like the suburbs. It was it was pretty bad. I mean, there was nowhere to eat because nobody has any money out there. It just seems like a very poor area. All they do is sit around and eat donuts, apparently. But through that, they got very good at making donuts, and yeah. So then a lot of donut shops have popped up where I live in Jersey, and I had been going to a bunch of them. And as I'm getting older, I'm starting to notice a donut manifesting itself around me, and family history of diabetes. So I had this idea that maybe I'll do something useful with all these donuts I'm eating and start reviewing the shops. Not for the attention, just to kind of share with people, where to go, where's good. See, I was thinking about that earlier. My whole, all throughout the hobby, even, I was a very giving person. I did a lot of nice things for people. I made connections between other people. I kind of, smoothed bridges out that were starting to burn. I gifted some people some things. I gave people things for a good deal. And I always had this motivation that I just wanted to be the guy that helped you get there. And then there's kind of a little bit of that in the donut thing. Like, I don't want, a million followers. I don't want any money from the donut shop. I just kind of want to be the guy that helps you get to the good donuts.
It's just fun to show your donuts off, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were talking about it before you got here, showing up a little bit late. We're like, he's off picking up some donuts.
Well,
we were going to bet on what kind of donuts you showed. And I'm like, I don't know if we want to show Bill's donut.
There's no donut places open this late. Trust me. Not in the good ones, at least.
No chocolate donuts to show. No glazed ones. I mean, I don't know if we could show the glazed one you showed last time, bro. They might censor it.
Oh gosh, you're not talking about the Venezuelan one.
Now you did another.
Oh no. Oh.
What's that?
What? No, what were you saying? I did what?
Oh, I said okay. We've talked enough about donuts. People on here for cards and like, what the hell are these guys talking about? Donuts, Bill's donut. What was this bullshit?
No, I mean it's me, so it's cool. People get to know me, but we won't run on about it.
Yeah. This is what we're here to do. You did another show. It was Behind the Pencil. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Because that was cool. I mean, you had some big names on there, man. I mean, there's guys that are doing it right now. I mean, you were kind of like the OG of that.
Yeah, and look, I acknowledge that I kind of set the tone for a lot of things and came up with a lot of ideas that and I don't feel bad if other people are doing them or if they're doing them better. I don't want any credit for being the first one to do anything, but all I'll say is that I'm pleased with myself in what I feel that I've contributed to the community as a whole, and I think that's the most important thing. If you go seeking validation or affirmations from outside sources, from people or from view counts, from number of likes, you're always going to come up short. But at the end of the day, like, you got to feel good about what you've brought to the table. And as far as the Marvel card hobby, and hopefully someday a little more, the Marvel community as a whole, we'll see that I'm kind of a real one. But I feel good about the work that I've done to try to make this a more fun, engaging place for everybody. Behind the Pencil, again, it was a little bit of I saw people getting interviewed, artists specifically, and some of whom I developed close relationships with as friends, and I wasn't satisfied with the way the interviews were being conducted. I saw some professionals doing two of my interview idols. The two people who I think are the best at doing it are Howard Stern and Grant Bensinger. I think that they have just a masterful way of interviewing people, getting a story told, and getting information out, and helping other people share something about themselves that they want to share with the world. And I felt like that mark was never being hit with these artists who all have these unique, amazing, great stories. And I decided to try to use my relationships and what I thought was missing to produce a sort of interview show where these people would have an opportunity to tell their story in this new, unique way that's never been done before. And that was a lot of work. It was probably more work than it needed to be. I did a lot of research. I watched every interview that everyone had ever done, that I was going to be interviewing, like every time that person did an interview, because I didn't want to ask the same question twice.
Sure.
Right. One, for the viewer, because if I was going to ask that question, you could just watch the other show. Two, for the artist, because like you've been asked this question 1,000 times. Who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite character to draw? And I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to create, and I also wanted to learn something unique about this person. I wanted to ask a follow-up question to a question that had already been asked of them. I wanted to go deeper into their story and find the real amazing part about them. And I did with all four people that I interviewed. Bella Ratchin was the first. She has an amazing story, and I could sum it up real quick. Is that she was born in Russia and moved to Israel. And in Israel, when you turn 18, you're required by law to join the military for 2 years. So she did that, and when she got out of the military, not knowing what she wanted to do with her life, she, on a whim, took a bet on herself, came to America, went to an art school in New Jersey, and decided to become a professional artist. And now she is thriving in the trading card and graphic art, illustration community, where she's a printed artist now. And I love that aspect of someone following their dreams. You know, at the heart of every success story, there's someone that took a chance on themselves and just went for it. And I tried to find that in whatever way I could. You know, maybe there was some struggle, maybe there's an uphill to climb, you know, but finding their identity, um, especially for like an artist, where, you know, whether it's music, visual, there's so much out there already, and the journey to becoming your own person and becoming unique, and putting out something there that is personal to you, and really has your stamp on it, your fingerprint, I think is a beautiful thing. Dave Palumbo, who I interviewed, the interview was never aired, actually has a great line. He didn't say it in there, but he said it in an article. He said, "Style is what happens when what you want to do meets what you can do." And I thought that was just such a cool concept. You know, because you always, as a non-artist, I always think about, how does someone come up with their style? We don't come up with your style. You know, there's what you want to do, and then there's your ability, and somewhere in the middle is you.
When was the last episode of that?
It had to be 3 years ago. Yeah,
It's been a few years. How many
yeah,
episodes? You know?
there were four. Only three were aired. I had another 5 or 6 lined up. I had the research all laid out to people I was going to talk to, but it was just it's a lot. The editing process, you know, I'm not, I'm a bare bone. You know, I may be a little bit younger, and I'm not a boomer, but like my technical know-how, I'm just not good with the editing. It took too long. It took too much time out of my life, that that it was unfortunate that I had to stop doing it. Maybe someday, maybe with AI, it'll be a little easier to cut out all my ums or all my dumb questions that I ask, and then just give you a nice, clean cut 45-minute interview, and, you know, just like that. But yeah, the amount of time it took me to stumble over clicking and dragging, cutting out and splicing, it just became more than I.
But you didn't want to be like just uncut and just say whatever and whenever flies like this right here. You want to be more cut and professional.
It wasn't about cutting professional. It was about, like, I had a specific story that I wanted to be told.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, you know, it was never intended to be riffing. It was meant, you know, I didn't want anybody getting distracted from the message. One thing that I, you know, was really intent on when I interviewed David Palumbo was, I didn't mention his mother or stepfather the entire time. Every interview I'd ever listened to him, you know, like I said, when I did the research, I listened to hours and hours of these people doing interviews. Every interview, they had just been, you know, awestruck, jaw dropped. You know, what was it like being Julie Bell's son? What was it like being, you know, Boris Vallejo's stepson? You know, how was it like? You know, is that why he became an artist, and this and that? And I knew that wasn't the truth, and I could see through it. And Dave is such a great guy. He was such a trooper, you know, like, it didn't buy, he knows that his mother and stepfather, that they're great artists, legendary, that they deserve their place in the conversation. And but he's so humble that he couldn't say, "Hey, can we talk about me?"
Yeah.
And I wanted to be that voice for him. You know,
that makes sense, because nobody wants to sit there and listen to all about your parents and step parents, right, because everybody knows about that. So it's more about him. Like, that makes sense.
Right. So, you know, and I tried to tell this story, that, you know, the real story, that because in reality, their contributions to his career were just on the business side. They helped him, you know, with contracts and getting an agent, and promoting yourself. But as far as the actual, you know, creative aspect, that was all him. That was all, you know, educating himself, going to school. You know, there was a woman when he was younger who had a gallery that you know, displayed his art for him, and she would help a lot of young artists do that to get their name out there. It was like a big gallery in Philly, and you know, people like that. Like, there's often like an unsung hero, people that doesn't get their flowers in someone's story, and I wanted to try to tell that story.
Nice. Well, one thing you mentioned, because you're a humble guy yourself. I mean, you don't necessarily. I mean, you pretend you're not. To me, anyway. But I know you're very humble, and you don't care for the clicks, because you know, there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. I mean, and especially in Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so I think when you're talking about click, you're talking about a very specific thing. I guess we call it like a high school term, where there's factions almost of people that are rivaled or not allowed to associate with each other, or it's taboo if they mix. But it's unfortunate. But in reality, all Click is that we're talking about is a group of people that vibe together and agree on some few things, and they have common goals and common interests. The ones that we don't like that exist are people that have manipulative, nefarious, or self-serving interests that come at the expense of other people, and that's unfortunate because there's cliques that are cool. There's cliques that that they're not hurting anybody. They're having a good time, and we would consider them a clique by structure. But yeah, I've made jokes in the past and tried to sell it as if it was real, that there's a Marvel card Illuminati of influencers that are manipulating the market. And look, when this thing was in its infancy, that might have been more true. When we were just starting to blow up after the boom, and maybe people were a little more suggestible because they didn't have a place to go to for information, and so whoever was talking got listened to. Now I think that there's so many people out there doing their own thing that I think it's at the point where, aside from newcomers, right? Newcomers are going to be susceptible to given the opportunity to make decisions for themselves about people and the relationships they should have. But I think where we're at right now is that whoever's out there, whether it's streaming, Instagramming, YouTubing, they've just carved out their niche. They've carved out their audience, and their followers, their viewers, their subscribers, whatever we're calling them. That's who they've chosen to watch. That's how they want to spend their time. And everybody has that right. And if that's the person that you connect with and you get entertained by and you feel comfortable getting your information from, it's not my place to tell you you're being misled or you're wasting your time. But if you're going to have a good time and you're enjoying yourself, then that's great. And in my opinion, we need those people. We need those, people whose maybe opinions I don't agree with or I don't get along with. Not because of that, but because maybe there's somebody that does. Maybe there's somebody that it makes them feel comfortable. And maybe they just don't like my face. Maybe they don't like the sound of my voice. So maybe I have all the facts, my perfect opinions, and you don't like my face or my voice, so you just can't stand to sit and watch me. What are you going to do? Not participate? You should have a place that you can go.
Absolutely. Now, do you think some of those numbers might be inflated? I'm going to talk about this. Okay, we're gonna get into this kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, what do you think about people trying to manipulate, inflate their numbers, that type of thing? What are your personal thoughts on that?
I think that we should just all be aware that's a thing, that it exists, that you can pay for subscribers. If you make a new business account on Instagram, you will get 10 DMs in the first 24 hours from people trying to promote your page for money. Yeah. And they will use spam accounts, bot accounts, and they will get your numbers. So the same can be said on any social media platform. Once you know that concept exists, then you can at least look at someone's subscriber count or follower count with a slightly different lens and not take it as gospel. Don't think that just because someone has this amount of followers or subscribers that it necessarily indicates that everything they say is true, right, and I should agree with it. Keep that in mind, and then watch them and make whatever decisions you want. But just don't use that number as a basis for trust. And if that person wants to use that number as a basis for financial gain, fine. Hey, I'm all for you going to get your bag, right? And if you got to spend 10 to make 100, do you? But don't try to.
No sound. Lost your sound. No sound. But that is a good take, man.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You're back. Yep, you're back with us. But no, that's a good take because I don't give a shit. I got 200 people on here. Maybe 100 views are going to be on this video, to be honest. Sorry. I'd like to get you more out there, but that's just the way it is. But I don't pay for that shit. I don't do that. Don't care to. I'm just here to have fun and talk with my buddy, because you and I go way back. And I think that some of these conversations, and the reason I'm doing this is more to get people to know just some of the people I associate with, because I think that some of you guys, especially I bring you on, are really awesome people, and people should get to know you a little bit more. Are you back? Billy's not. He's not here. I don't think he can even hear me. Okay, so why Bill figures out his situation over there, I like to open it up to questions. Are you back? I can hear something.
Oh yeah, I can hear you now.
There it is. There it is.
Can you hear me?
I don't know if you could hear me. I was telling people, because I like to do like the Q&A on here. Just, for the most part, just so you guys know, the way that I run this is I try to talk to my guests more than anybody. The chat's cool, but when people go back and watch this, nobody likes to sit here and listen to you talk to the chat. But I do want to interact with you guys a little bit to give you some time to talk to my guests and ask questions if you have any. So this is going to be that time. I mean, I see, let me go back through here. Some of these people like Bobby, we miss you too, Bobby and Tammy. Yeah, saying I'm out of Marvel. I'm not out of Marvel. Yeah, Izzy saying Marvel quit me. Nah, I'm still kind of I'm not a Marvelhead. I always like to explain this. In every one of my episodes, I kind of go over that. Why it says Ex-Marvelhead. It's because I'm not gung-ho anymore. I'm not living my life under the thumb of Marvel, where every second of my day I'm thinking about Marvel this, Marvel that, cards. I mean, come on, man. This is a hobby. I've got family. I've got another career. There's other things to think about in life than Marvel. Yes, I'm going to wear my shirts. You know what I mean? I'm still there, but I'm just no longer that guy that's 24/7 thinking about Marvel. So just guys give you a little bit of an explanation on that. Any questions for Mr. Vizosi? What's up? Anybody? Yeah, who knows? We'll see. As they come in, we'll just ask them. Are you still with me, dude?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I know your sound was not working with you.
Yeah, no, it was weird. I had no idea what happened. It just randomly went out, but it's okay.
Well, good deal. So what's the plan for any of this stuff? I mean, I know that you've been kind of in the shadow realm of collecting. I mean, you're always going to collect HE. If anybody doesn't know who that is, tell us about HE, bro.
Yeah, so I should have mentioned that in my introduction. I'm the world's largest collector of the High Evolutionary. It's a great title.
Tell us about High Evolutionary. Tell us a little bit about it. I mean, some people don't even know who that is.
Okay, so High Evolutionary is a character who first appeared in Thor 134 in 1966. His real name is Herbert Edgar Wyndham. He's a geneticist that used technology to evolve himself and experiment on animals, trying to evolve them. His most famous story arc is the Evolutionary War, the 12-part comic that spanned over the annuals in 1988. He's been an enemy of the Avengers, of the Fantastic Four, of Thor, of the X-Men. There's rumor that he created the legacy virus that wiped out all the mutants in the comics. Unconfirmed, but I always liked him. I first noticed him in the Evolutionary War when I saw that. It was the first time that I'd really seen one villain across all these titles that it took them all to take him down. I was kind of impressed by that, and so then I started collecting him and following him. And when I got back into cards in 2019, I saw that he had been on some cards since then, because he was really only on Marvel Universe. He was never on a Masterpiece card. His first and only Masterpiece card is 2020 Masterpieces, which I went heavily into. But I've got a lot of original art of him, comic book art, some paintings, and I love him. And as much as I'm out, I consider myself kind of like elder statesman status in the hobby right now, where I'll offer my opinions, I'll come and do these things, but I'm not really gonna participate and engage. And I have opinions about the state of things, but it's too big for me now. This thing's grown beyond itself.
That's what we hear, bro. We want to hear that shit. We want to hear the low and dirty.
Yeah, Well, no, I mean, it's evolved so much, right? Like this hobby is everything we wanted it to be and everything we hoped it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
We wanted it to blow up. We did.
Yeah.
We wanted more people. We wanted more product. We wanted more exposure. We wanted everybody to know how cool the shit we got was, and we did. That's what we got. And somewhere along the way, somebody saw that people were making money here too, and so then that attracted a different kind of people.
Yeah. So would you call yourself an Ex-Marvelhead now?
No, I'm still a Marvelhead. Just because I'm not buying or ripping doesn't mean I wouldn't call myself a Marvelhead. I'm a Marvel junkie. I still read stories. I still pick up books, and I still look for my guy everywhere I can. But I'm a little more focused now as far as like what I'm going to collect and keep, and go after. It's a lot of opportunity based, but I do have that obsession that it's that completionist thing where like if I start something that maybe has a series, that I need to finish it, or a rainbow or something like that. So I'm very reluctant about getting into those things because I know how I am. And I also know, like ripping is out of the question for me because I love to rip packs, and I'll rip product that doesn't even have anything that I know I want to collect. I'm not a good gambler, and this is gambling. This is worse than gambling because when we win, the house doesn't have to pay us.
Yep.
When you win in the casino, the house is the one who pays you. Well, in this type of gambling, the house took their money and walked away. And people forget about that. So we're left to ripping or dealing with each other, which can be very hard. I think it's very important to anybody out there as a collector. Never trust someone who wants your stuff, whether it's your collectibles or your money. There's zero expectation of them to be fair. They have no obligation to be fair. And that sounds like a cynical thing, but like they don't deal with those people. But it means don't just assume that you're getting the best deal there is. All it comes down to is how bad do you want this thing, and how much are you willing to negotiate and haggle. Whether it's to get the price for the thing that you're selling or to get the thing that you're trying to buy. And we always say don't overextend yourself and don't use important money on unimportant things. But really, like
experience like me.
Well, yeah, I mean, me too. But like I'm I had 6 figures in sales, but I'm also 6 figures in debt. I don't know how that worked out, but it just did. Recklessness, e-pack. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I had a lot of fun, but I also spent $17,000 on Black Diamond opening weekend on e-pack on a product that I had no intention of keeping anything in there. It was about the ripping. It was about the hit. It was about the chase.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous thing.
And
it's real out there. It look like it's the sort of thing that we know it's there, but we don't talk about. And everybody wants to think they're not as bad as the other guy, but like we all have the potential. Maybe you've been good so far, but a lot of us have that potential in us where we could become that guy. If we just had a little bit of means, if we had a credit limit high enough, like you could keep rolling the dice on something and think you're going to hit. And I played that game, and I'm paying for that game now. Luckily, I have clothes on my back and food in my fridge and a roof over my head. I have a career that I can fall back on to help me get out of that hole. But I mismanaged my funds and my collectibles immensely. I'm grateful for the way things happened because I learned all these lessons along the way. Hopefully, I can apply them to other ventures in life and not make similar mistakes. So I don't say I wish I would have done this differently. I could say if I were smarter, I would have done this differently. If I were more disciplined, I would have done this differently. But I don't necessarily wish I did anything differently because now I am smarter. Now I am more disciplined, and I had those mistakes to get there. But you got to make your lessons big and your mistakes small. And unfortunately, I did it the backwards way.
Dude, how many nights how many late nights do we have behind the scenes nobody knew about where we would just get on e-pack and we just go crazy, dude?
Absolutely. And we
the old rage
there was one year There was one year where I got a a gift from Upper Deck for being like one of the top 10 EPAC customers in Marvel. And that's not good. That's not good because there was one EPAC release that had anything I wanted in it. At least during my time collecting, because 2020 Masterpieces had already sold out on EPAC by the time I got into it, I believe. And that was Fleer Ultra Avengers. But yeah, no, there was definitely some wild nights breaking, but we had fun. We had fun, and we're still here to talk about it, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But there are lessons there, right? The lesson isn't if you want to have that much fun, go do exactly what we did and almost burn your lives to the ground. Show a little restraint. There's like we know this both from experience on Whatnot. Like 75% of the room is non-biased, zero interest in buying. So there's people that have that discipline, and they've learned how to watch and have fun and enjoy and live vicariously through other people. If that's what your means dictate, by all means, do that. Like your life and your well-being are more important than having a thing.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at too. I mean, there's lots of reasons behind that. It's just watching because again, we're addicted to the rip. So we'll sit there and watch it, even if we don't pay for it. And people are smarter about it. And just like it's experience on my end of the so-called rage rip. Everybody knows the rage rip.
Yeah. The weird thing for me is that I don't get as much enjoyment out of watching it as I do doing it.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty resentful and jealous. I'm pretty resentful and jealous, and all that there's a very likely chance that all watching it's going to do is make me wish that I had done it instead of you. That I was the one selling it, that I was the one ripping it, that I was the one that got the field high that hit when I pulled that card for you. So that's why it's a little I'm not bitter. It's just it's uninteresting to me because I want to be the guy doing that still. And unfortunately, like I've come to a place where I just can't. Like I said, going back to before, it's about the opportunity to acquire product, the means, and the creativity required for me to feel like I'm bringing something to the table that's competitive and worth watching. That's going to make you watch me instead of somebody else. Because I still think that the worst thing they ever did for the streamer was add the swipe feature to Whatnot. So all I have to do is do that to get rid of you. It's so easy for me to change the channel, and I don't. When I'm on, I don't want you to change the channel. Not because I don't want you to look at me, because I really believe that with me you're going to have more fun than anywhere else.
Yeah. So, what is the future for you in Marvel? What do you have any plans on doing anything? What do you got going on, man?
I mean, there's been a lot of like people asking for me to come back and revive other ventures like Marvel on the Brain, like Behind the Pencil. There's like almost like a meme, like release the Snyder cut for me to release the Palumbo interview. It's actually pretty funny. Like there's like 10 people that ask me like, you ever gonna drop that Palumbo interview? You ever gonna drop that Palumbo interview? So I don't know. Like those are both two things that I would still love to be a part of, but it's about can I do it in a way that's going to be fair to myself, like my life, my time, my available time, the things that I have to do, to the subject of it, whether it's the people that are playing on the show or the artist that I'm interviewing, and to the viewers. Is it going to be something where I feel like the amount of time I'm putting in matches up with the amount of enjoyment you're having? And I don't see anything immediate like that on the horizon. I do love doing things like this. Like I love opening up in conversations about my experience. You're not often going to catch me use the words "I think," because one, you don't want to hear my thoughts, and two, they're not my thoughts. Anything I tell you is going to be my experience, things that I believe to be true based on the life that I've lived, which is as true as it could be for me. And maybe it's not for you, but it is authentic and it is real. And I always love an opportunity to come deliver that.
Nice. Well, right on, man. Well, I think you've pretty much covered quite a bit. I mean, do you have anything else you want to add on to this? I mean, I think that your message is awesome. Really good message of, be careful. I mean, we've experienced quite a bit, and I think there's probably something out there for you, bro. I think there's something there, but we'll see.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to see what comes next. But yeah, no, I hope anybody that's still actively involved in the hobby is comfortable with their place in it, and you know, with their level of involvement. If you want to do more, do more. Whether it's collect more or, you know, get on Instagram, get on YouTube. I encourage all that. Like, you know, just because it's the, you know, the competitive nature of the landscape is why I got out of certain areas. Doesn't mean that I, you know, dislike them or resent them. You know, if you want to try something, do it. Like, why am I so much better that I, you know, was able to get a chance to try and do something, to go out there and spread my wings, but you shouldn't. No, if you think you can, you want to have fun with it, go for it. You know what, collecting, you know, like if you want to keep collecting, like the biggest thing is education about collecting, whether it's buying or selling. Educate yourself, learn how to be sensible. You know, like still to this day, we get people asking for comps that, you know, are just too lazy to look up on eBay, or haven't taken the time to build the relationships with people that they trust. You know, I have people in my life that if I were to buy or sell any given item, I would know who to go to, where I could ask their opinion and I could trust them, because I know they don't want it, and I know they don't have it, and I know they know what they're talking about, and they're not going to steer me wrong. We got to find those people. If you want to exist in the hobby and collect or sell or buy, you know, to remember what brought us here, right? Like COVID is what brought us here, and there's two major things that happen in COVID. Is that our algorithms learn more about us in 6, 9, 12 months of lockdown than they did in the entire 15 years prior to social media. And then suddenly we had all this disposable income, you know, because we weren't going on vacations, we weren't going out to eat every night, we weren't taking big trips and buying all these things. And for most of us, that's not there anymore. We're back to those normal lives where we do go out to eat, we do go on vacation, we do all these things and have experience out in the real world again. So, you know, our disposable income has fallen down, and a lot of people in the hobby remember that. You know, we can't live that way no more. And it's great that we all got brought together this way. It's great that it's blown up and grown to this bit. It's great that I could come on here like this.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I, you know, I don't see how many people are in the room, and I don't really care. But it's cool that anybody's watching. And what's even cooler, there could be a group of other people right now watching somebody else talking about something very similar. You know, and we were a small part of making that happen. You know, just by keeping at it and continuing to grow and putting ourselves out there and inviting new people into this thing and helping educating them and sharing with them. So I hope it continues to do that. But we got to remember that this, you know, bubble, this space that we live in called the hobby, the array of people that exist inside of it are the same array of people that exist in the real world, right? So, you know, the same jobs, the same races, the same religions, the same personality types. Okay, there could be serial killers in the Marvel card hobby right now. That's just statistics. But like, you know, that's an extreme. But we have to acknowledge that like we're not all by nature going to be good people just because we like the same thing. Yeah. And again, that's not to be cynical, but that's so that you don't have this expectation of trust or goodwill. And so don't be so surprised when someone does you dirty in a deal, or someone goes on Instagram and says something ignorant or mean. You know, they say something disrespectful about your collection or your taste in art or whatever the case may be. Don't be so shocked, and don't be so retaliatory, because, you know, a lot of time that's what those people want.
And what's great is with YouTube, because it's the first time we've done YouTube together. I mean, I haven't done YouTube very much. Usually it was like a Whatnot show or Instagram. That stuff gets buried. Whereas here, people are going to be able to find this. They're going to be able to go back, listen to your story, listen to what you've done, your advice, your great advice that you've been giving us. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
And you want to shout out any of your stuff, dude? Like any of your IG handles or anything you want people to go and check out your donuts or your cards or whatever you got going on?
Yeah, if you like donuts, you know, I'm in Jersey, but I've, you know, been sampling donuts all over the country for a while. I'm the Donut Pro on Instagram. I have some archive stuff on Instagram. Watch_me_open. On here on YouTube, Watch Me Open, Marvel on the Brain, Behind the Pencil interviews. that's all there for you to enjoy. I hope maybe one day I'll be able to bring you something else more exciting and new and fun. But I just appreciate everybody being here.
That's what's up, man. All right. Well, I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for coming on. Everybody else, thanks for coming on to the show. I'll have another one for you. I don't know who's next, but we'll just keep at it. See what's up. Thanks for joining us, guys. Take care.
All right.